Jai Shri Ram, my dear friends. I am Kripa Shankar here with you, and these are today's GRE verbal shorts. Now, I got a message from one of my old students. Her name is Vidya. Her post was Guruji, awaiting your GRE shorts. So that small sentence motivated me to do this immediately, because let me tell you the truth, we humans need to be incentivated as often as possible. We can live without water and food for a few days, but without compliments, we will shrivel up. Our backbone will shrivel up, right? So please make it a point to compliment people. In fact, that is one of the traits of Rama. Sri Rama, if you study his traits, I will give a talk on that too later. Know your Rama. Rama, I believe, if he notices even a small virtue, a small good thing about somebody, in spite of the fact that the person may have 10 vices or whatever, Rama glorifies that small virtue. There is a concept in psychology which is called Pygmalion effect. Now, this is Pygmalion effect. Please make a note. Pygmalion, incidentally, was the name of a Greek sculptor long, long ago who, I believe, sculpted a beautiful statue of a lady, of a girl, and fell in love with her. Fortunately for him, the Greek gods were alert to this situation, and they infused life in that statue, and he married that statue and lived happily ever after. Now, in management, this Pygmalion effect basically means when you praise people, they will make every effort to live up to that praise. Perhaps, even if they don't deserve that praise, still they will make an effort to live up to it. So this is one way in which we can motivate people to become better human beings. So that's called the Pygmalion effect. There is a movie, My Fair Lady, which was based on a novel by G.B. Shaw. The name of the novel is Pygmalion. The story is the same. Actually, in this My Fair Lady, which is a wonderful Hollywood movie, old one, there are two English professors. One is a grammar professor, the other is a phonetics professor. They meet after several years accidentally in a movie. After a movie is over, they just happen to see, hey, how are you, and all that. So, there is a flower girl who is selling flowers. This setting is London, obviously, and she is speaking some accent which is not so sophisticated. So the phonetics professor comments that in 1 year he can teach this girl to pass off as a princess. The grammar professor says that's not possible, and they have a bet. It is a bet for £1, and the rest of the story you can guess. This phonetics professor takes in that girl. With great difficulty, her family allows her, and he trains her, teaches her how to speak good English, elite English, and finally, in the climax of the movie, he presents her as a princess, and the Prince of Magyar, there is a prince who will propose to her, because she speaks so wonderful, she is so princess-like. So finally, this guy wins the bet, and of course, you guessed right, they fall in love too. It's a wonderful movie, My Fair Lady. Well, here the point is, I received a compliment, a very subtle compliment, indicating that what I'm doing is good, and therefore, thank God I received that compliment, and now I'm at work. Now let's begin. GRE verbal shots. Cavil. Cavil means to make petty complaints. Cavilling. Petty complaints. Quibble. 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 That is a synonym. Ironic. Irony, as you know, if a fire engine catches fire, that is irony. It is paradox plus humor plus sarcasm. Paradox. Paradox means something that is self-contradictory but true. So the irony is when a fire engine, which is supposed to douse fire, if it catches fire, that is the supremest irony, right? Skirmish means a small fight, a petty fight, not a battle, right? When Hyderabad was liberated, Operation Polo, or police action it was called, the Indian army surrounded this Hyderabad, the biggest princely state. The Nizam wanted to be independent. He actually wanted to join Pakistan and all that. So after the Indian army surrounded, there were a couple of skirmishes, and finally Nizam capitulated. His mercenary army, MERCENARY, mercenary. Mercenary means a soldier for hire, used as a noun. Mercenary used as an adjective means very greedy for money. His mercenary army is known as the Razakars army. So they surrendered within 1 week. There were a few skirmishes, no battles. And then skirmish means petty fight, a small fight. A battle is much bigger, the war is much bigger. Untenable. Untenable means indefensible, cannot be defended, illogical, irrational. Most of the dogmas in the so-called major religions other than Sanatana Dharma, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, the propositions are supremely tenable, whereas in the other major religions, I don't know how you will take it, but they are totally untenable. It will not take much time for any intelligent person to shoot them down. Anyway, I have always been the devil's advocate. Please make a note. Devil's advocate. DEVIL. Devil's advocate. Devil's advocate is defined as a person who deliberately asks controversial questions. The objective is to provoke debate, and so that the concepts are better understood by everyone. So being a devil's advocate is very good, right? In any situation. In fact, if you are running your company, you must employ at least one person whose job is to act as the devil's advocate. You pay that fellow to question everything that you do. Please do that. Otherwise, there's a lot of herd thinking, group think, and conformity to group norms, and finally all of us will land up in a ditch. In fact, the devil's advocate has a Christian origin. On the right hand side of the paper, you can see beatify and canonize. Now, beatify or canonize, of course, there is a subtle difference. But as a GRE student or as a general speaker of English, you don't have to get too deep into the specificities of each concept. So, beatifying, canonizing broadly mean conferring sainthood on a person. So, Mother Teresa was beatified or canonized. And Christopher Hitchens was, I believe, asked to be the devil's advocate, who is an atheist anyway. He wrote a book, The Missionary Position, ripping Mother Teresa apart and exposing her for what she was. So, Mother Teresa incidentally was beatified because the Catholic Church has a very interesting dogma, which is that if there is some evidence of some miracles being, at least 2 miracles being performed by a saint after their death, then that evidence is taken and the person is canonized or beatified and rendered, conferred sainthood. So, now you would be curious to know what is the miracle that Mother Teresa performed. Well, as the story goes, there was a lady, obviously a proselyte, Proselyt, that means a convert. In India, you see there are so many people who are converting, who don't study Gita, all their forefathers were Hindus. They don't study the Gita, at least, because that is the summary of the Vedas. Nobody can really study the entire Vedas. It's very difficult. They don't study fully the scriptures of the other religions. And when they convert, I think they are not really applying their mind. Though, of course, every one of us has the freedom to convert. Now, the story goes that this lady had an incurable tumor, and the doctors said you are going to die. And then they also perhaps added, because the evangelists, they work in tandem with the doctors. They have a team. They go to remote areas and they indulge in this kind of activity, propaganda, to proselytize people. So she was told that you are incurable and only Jesus can save you. So I believe the poor lady converted. And then she was given a locket, a medallion of Mother Teresa to wear. She wore that. And I believe one fine day, the doctors, the Christian doctors as usual, reported that the tumor vanished. And she must have given her own, statement too, that somehow, the medallion or the locket released such powerful healing waves that she was cured. tumor. So this is one of the, and something like that. There's another one. So devil's advocate means a person who is hired to ask controversial questions to defeat the motion. Anyway, the Pope has a quote called Curia, Curia. Reading comprehension passages can be there discussing these things too. Curia is the court of the Pope, where all the cardinals are 12 cardinals are there who represent the apostles. Apostole. Apostle means the follower of Christ. So all the cardinals and other officials, they are the team of the Pope. They are the party voting for the motion, that is beatification, and the devil's advocate is the person who votes against it. So all this went on, and finally she was conferred. Well, I don't want to dilate on this. I could have asked even more extraordinary questions. In fact, in my village right now, I don't know if somebody is going to canonize me. There were 10 people who were all terminal AIDS patients who took a picture of mine and kept it in their house. And after a month, they came back and we checked. They were cured of AIDS. They reported that mysterious rays emanated from my picture and they were cured of AIDS. Now, honestly, you can pay a few rupees to get people to report things like this, and I don't know if someday I might be canonized. Well, let us leave it there. So untenable means indefensible. Recuse means to withdraw. A judge may recuse from a case in case if he suspects that he runs the risk of being accused of partiality. Suppose his son is there. So recently, that Atik fellow mafiosi was shot dead. In Atik's case, there were 10 judges who recused themselves. That means they withdrew from the case. Why? As reports go, I believe they were scared to death. Because if they don't give bail, this fellow would get them killed. And I believe the 11th judge who took up the case instantly gave him bail. So this is a very strange situation. I don't know how the judiciary works. I think it's a sad commentary on the situation. Correct me if I'm wrong. Superfluous means too much. Redundant, unnecessary, excess. Deceitful, cheating, double dealing. Groveling, behaving like a sycophant. Having no sense of self-respect. Sycophantic behavior, using flattery, blandishment. Blandishment means flattery. The intention is to gain favors from somebody very powerful. Umbrage, taking offense. The usage is, please don't take umbrage at my words. That means please don't get offended. Doting, pampering, showering too much love and affection. Doting parents. A doting husband is called uxorious. Uxorious. Uxorious husband means he is doting on his wife, showing too much love and affection. So when you dote on your kid, he is going to become a brat, B-R-A-T, a small devil, an extremely uncontrollable feral child, F-E-R-A-L. Feral means wild. Plaintiff. A person who files the case in a court of law is called a plaintiff. The accused is called defendant, D-E-F-E-N-D-A-N-T, defendant. Derelict, abandoned. A derelict building means abandoned, and a derelict old man, that means he has been abandoned. Bumbling. Bumbling means, messing up, spoiling everything, a bumbling idiot. Usually that's the adjective. Benighted, very dark and ignorant. Benighted actually means extremely ignorant. Benighted tribes. Well, I leave it to you. Concerted efforts, that means united efforts. In concert, that means in unity. Now let's look at this word persecute. Persecution of Hindus during the Mughal rule. Persecution means needless harassment and punishment. Prosecute, that means to charge in a court of law. To arraign, A-R-R-A-I-G-N, to read out a charge sheet. So that is to prosecute. So make a person stand in trial in a court of law. Carping and cavilling, the first word, making petty complaints. Poignant, something that is heart-wrenching, moving, emotionally moving. When we see children begging on streets, that is a very poignant scene. Heart-wrenching, heart-rending, R-E-N-D, rend means tear. Heart-rending, rend, rent, riven, This is a, what do you call, irregular verb. Rend, tear apart. Rent, tear apart, that is the past tense. Riven, past participle. Poignant movie, poignant scene, emotionally moving. To render means to cause to become. To render something useless. To render something useless. Now, render more often is used in a negative context. Okay, gloating, deriving malicious pleasure over past achievements, sort of, basking in past glory. Gloating is actually deriving unreasonable pleasure in one's own achievements or whatever. Unimpeachable, unquestionable, irrefutable. Impeach is a word which means to question or attack, to oppugn and impugn and question. Impeach can also mean remove a president, or a chief justice of India can be impeached. A joint session of parliament has to be conducted if there is evidence to show that he is corrupt or whatever. Impeaching is the formal process of removing a president or chief justice or some high official from the post. Unimpeachable argument. Unimpeachable means something that is very tenable, cannot be questioned or cannot be disproved. Now, these are GRE verbal shorts for today. I hope it was not too long. Make a note, please. Jai Shri Ram.